Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today on this webinar, From Potential to Placement, Mastering Psychometric Tests with CIMA. My name is Nahal, and I'm part of the events team here at Target Jobs. I'm really excited to be joined by Claire from the CIMA team, who will be sharing about upcoming opportunities and how to master those potentially nerve-wracking psychometric tests. You'll get to hear real insights today, so make sure to take notes. You'll gain an insider's perspective on what employers are looking for, explore different types of assessments you may encounter, and learn practical strategies for preparation. This webinar will have plenty of opportunities for you to ask any burning questions you might have, and it's also quite interactive, so get ready to vote on some polls. Now, just a couple of housekeeping rules before we begin. The Q&A tab on the bottom is for all of your questions, and the chat tab has a distinct function for showing your appreciation, so please ensure to. Anyway, thanks for listening to me. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Claire to kick things off. Thanks, Claire.
Hi, thanks. Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody who has joined the webinar this afternoon. My name is Claire DeRose, and I'm the lead manager for the student recruitment team at CIMA, the UK team, that is. And today I've been asked to do a bit of a presentation to you about particularly psychometric tests. So hopefully you are going to get involved. This is an interactive session, and I'm hoping that it will really give you some insight and really help you with your career journeys. So just to give you a bit of an overview of today's session, it will cover a brief introduction to CIMA as a professional qualification, so the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, an overview of graduate recruitment, what is the recruitment cycle, and particularly psychometric tests, and as I said, interactive, so it's a bit of practice time after. I will say that there will be time, hopefully, for questions at the end. So if you do have any burning questions that you want to ask me, please just wait to the end and I'll hopefully get through those for you. So just to sort of go back a bit, because obviously I work for the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. It is a professional qualification, which is a qualification that you do usually whilst you're working at the same time to become professionally qualified. You may see lots of different acronyms. You may see AICPA and CIMA, you may see CIMA, may see AICPA. These are just different logos you might see that would reflect our qualification, but the qualification that you would look at doing is the CIMA qualification. It's a global qualification, and once you become qualified, you get letters after your name, which is CGMA, which stands for Chartered Global Management Accountant. Now, there may be quite a wide variety of you on the webinar today, from people who have just heard about CIMA to those who have already heard quite a bit about CIMA. So forgive me if I'm going over things that you already know, but I'm just trying to cover all angles for everyone. A professional qualification is master's level, but it is a professional qualification because you have the theoretical and the practical experience in order to become qualified. So like with any professional qualification that somebody may do, whether it be in, I don't know, architecture or, you know, the world of accounting and finance, there's several professional qualifications you can choose from. You need to have that practical and theoretical experience before you become qualified. Saying it's master's level does not mean that you have to go to university before studying towards the qualification. If you choose to finish and go into the world of work straight after school, then and you want to become CIMA qualified, then yes, you can do that. If you want to go from school onto university, do a degree, any degree, I may add, it doesn't have to be finance and accounting, and you go into employment after that and you think, I want to become CIMA qualified, yes, you can do that. So just to tell you a bit about and demystify a few things with accounting, and particularly put in place where CIMA fits and management accounting fits, there are two different types of accounting. There's financial accounting and there's management accounting. Now, financial accounting is more of that stereotypical accounting type role. So a lot of people hear the word accounting and they think I need to be great at maths, I need to be really into doing the number crunching, things like that. But that isn't the case, particularly within management accounting side of things. Financial accounting is that stereotypical accounting function. So tax, audit, working within a back office accounts function in a business and reporting on what's happened historically within that business. Very much more that number crunching type of a role. Management accounting, however, is more about working with the business as a whole and working within the business as a whole and looking at lots of different factors from, yes, figures through to other factors that may affect a business decision. So that can be things like staffing, that can be particular projects. But if you're somebody who is interested, you think, okay, I'm really interested, I want to do something in business, but I'm not quite sure what, CIMA and management accounting may be the route that you need to start looking at, because it's very much that strategic decision-making, business decision-making side of things, which you might find more interesting than the more financial accounting side, which is the more number crunching side of things. So that's just to sort of set the scene as to the differences between the two different types of accounting, financial and management accounting, and the fact that there are different accounting qualifications that you would then do in order to take whichever route is best fit for you. So if you are that person who is interested in that more strategic, more business route, then the CIMA qualification is something that you should definitely look more into. With the CIMA qualification, there's lots of different businesses that we work with that you could potentially work for. So, you know, the industry does not matter. You can work in any sector, anywhere. You can work in FMCG, you can work in retail, you can work in public sector. It really doesn't matter. NHS is one of our largest employers. So a lot of people fear that they need to sort of maybe just work in one industry or one sector, but that just isn't the case with the CIMA qualification. And as you can see on this slide, there are lots of different job roles that people hold that are our CIMA students and members. So the world is, there's a lot out there, and there's a lot of things as opposed to just management accountant, assistant management accountant. You know, there's varying things that you can go to long term in your career. It does not narrow you. A lot of people fear being typecast and narrowed if they're looking at studying towards a professional qualification. But with management accounting, the nature of management accounting, the nature of a management accountant within a business actually opens lots of doors because of how you work with the business as a whole, with potential things that you might be working with within the company that you work for. So naturally, it does open a lot of doors. And here you can see that there's lots of different areas and industries that you can work within that I was just sort of pointing out before. So this is the structure of our syllabus, both sides. It's the same syllabus, just different routes that you can take to become qualified. We've got two different routes. So we've got the self-tailored route and the finance leadership program. Now, the self-tailored route is 16 exams, and you do get exemptions if you have got prior learning that is relevant to our qualification. And for example, to tell you where you might get exemptions, if you go and do an accounting and finance degree at a university, pretty much most universities within the UK will have exemptions within that degree programme for CIMA. And instead of sitting 16 exams, you would come halfway in, and at the management level, you can see on the left-hand side there, and you would have 8 further exams to do. Now, this is very much the self-tailored route. You can either study using textbooks online, you can go to a tuition provider and attend classes and things. So it's very sort of mixed as to how you can study and do these exams. So you'd work through and you would do the 3 years relevant experience at the top, which says practical experience requirements. If you can read that grey bar at the top, That's the 3 years that we look for. That's what makes the difference between a master's level and a professional qualification, like I was saying at the beginning. So you can you work your way through and do that way, or we've got something that was launched in the UK a couple of years ago, and as you can imagine has been really, really popular route, which is the Finance Leadership Programme. And the Finance Leadership Programme is a self-tailored, a programme that is set you online, purely online. You only have 3 external exams to take. That is if you don't have any any prior learning, any exemptions. So you can actually potentially have exemptions and only maybe have 2 exams to take. So it's quite a different way of doing things. The FLP is the Finance Leadership Programme, 100% agile. It's exactly the same syllabus. Learning assessments is broken up into competency areas, and there's case study reviews and mock exams included. So this is just to give you a bit of an overview. I mean, obviously this is a psychometric test with CIMA presentation today, but I did want to set the scene a bit and let you know a bit about the qualification, because if it's something you're interested in, or if it's something you're hearing about for the first time and wasn't aware of, hopefully you are now aware that maybe it might be a route that you may be interested in taking. So I'm going to head on because we have got quite a bit to get through. Now, as a professional qualification, we deal with a lot of employers, hundreds of thousands of employers globally have people who are studying or who are qualified within our qualifications. So as you can imagine, we're talking to employers a lot about what they're looking for. We talk to employers when we put our syllabus together. And these are the key things when they're looking at early careers and looking at apprenticeships, looking at graduates to recruit into their business. They are looking at these aspects. So the commercial awareness bit, the researching an organisation, using initiative, all these sorts of things that they're looking for. So we always, as a professional qualification, are trying to link these conversations with people, particularly at the early careers stage, to employability type things and help you and guide you along the way, as well as you obviously learning about the CIMA qualification. Hence why we're looking at this psychometric tests thing today. So if you are looking at getting a job, you're first starting, you're graduating maybe from university or just leaving school, there's lots of things that you need to do before you, or whilst you're sort of going through the recruitment process. It's exploring the options, identifying what jobs, companies you're interested in, industry, style, culture. There are so many different cultures now within different businesses. And it's not just about whether or not they think you fit them when you go for an interview, but also if you feel that you fit within that organisation, that culture. Building up your commercial awareness is also something that a lot of the employers that we speak to have said is really important to show and come across when you're in an interview. So, you know, looking at the organisation and the role, actually understanding the market and the industry within that role that you're going to. So if you are going for an interview with a company that's within a particular industry, read news articles or read some news. There's so much at our fingertips now, particularly with all the AI that's going on, of information that we can find, that we can have, and that we can talk about within an interview, and that will make you sound so much more commercially aware, so much more interested in the business that you're going for an interview for. Understand the recruitment process, what you'll be doing, what you'll be assessed on, and skills in demand. What are the skills that employers are wanting, and where can you develop these skills? And that leads us on to, you know, why we're doing this session today. And well done for joining it, because this is, you know, one of the steps to helping you hopefully to be your best within a recruitment process. So typical recruitment process, obviously it varies greatly depending on the size of the company as well, but usually the larger companies who have the big recruitment processes going on have an application form, and then you may be called to do an online psychometric test or a gamification. You then maybe get called to do an interview, and that nowadays may be face-to-face in their offices, but also might be online. So there's all those different things to navigate, because it's very different communication skills that you'd be using in those two different circumstances. After an interview, which may be with the hiring manager and HR, then you might be invited to an assessment centre where you'll be given tasks to do with groups and people that you've never met, and then hired or not hired. So there's quite a thing to, you know, actually getting that job at the end of the day. And the thing that you can do is just be prepared, and that's the main thing I'd say, is preparation is key. So why do recruiters use psychometric tests? And that's one thing that, just to understand this initially, is to understand, you know, what you're doing when you're actually doing or being asked to do a psychometric test. So there's a simple way of assessing particular skills and sets and traits for a particular role. Is for them to identify candidates with the greatest likelihood of success in the role or the organisation. And it's also a really cost-effective way of assessing a large number of candidates. You know, these psychometric tests or gamifications can either be, you know, maybe an off-the-shelf one for a particular company, or can be put together specifically for that company, for that culture, for that role, and very clever ways of being able to assess people and make sure that you're right for the role. So the different types of tests: there's verbal, numerical, situational judgment, logical reasoning, and personality. And also I said that there's gamification and everything like that. So you may get a psychometric test. It may look like one of these little snapshot pictures that we've got here, like a little game or something. You know, it can vary as to what it may look like and what you might be asked to do. And as I said before, the main thing is to be prepared. The main thing is to practice, practice, practice. So get yourself in, you know, good shape, do your research, find out what type of tests you'll be facing, work out the timings, know how long, how many questions there may be, so you know how much time to spend on things. Does the difficulty increase as you progress? Yes, usually it does. Can I use materials, blank paper, calculator? Just double check all those things with the person for setting up for the psychometric tests, and, you know, look into how it'll be marked. But really, it's all about a bit of brain training here and getting used to what a psychometric test is all about. And not a lot of us obviously do these types of things in our day-to-day life. So being prepared and practicing is key to being your best self. It's not about cheating. It's not about, you know, learning how to answer things. It's actually this is about being prepared to be your best self. So, saying that, and I did say it was an interactive session, so I hope you're all ready. I'm going to be giving you, I think I've got about 17 questions that we're going to work through, and some polls are going to come up, and it will be A, B, C, D, or E in most of the questions. Some of them are A to D, and I will give you a minute on most of these questions. On all of these questions, I'll time a minute for you to have a look at it, put in the poll what your answer will be, and go from there. And this is just to have a bit of practice. This isn't to make you feel bad or call anybody out or anything like that, because it's not about that. It is about having the understanding that this is something that can be asked in a recruitment process, having some insight into what it's all about, and what you may need to work on, and what you might need to practice further in order. Like I said, it's not about cheating or anything like that. It's about just being able to be your best self in that assessment process. So with that, We will do the first one. So the poll will come up in a minute, but which year has the lowest proportion of students to non-students living on the university campus? So which year has the lowest proportion of students to non-students living on the university campus? So I will give you a minute starting from now, and your poll should have been launched. Have a little look at it and put your answer. Right, so have we got any answers coming through? We do have some. And actually, quite varied across, actually, I'd say. So a little bit more time I'll give you. Okay. Everybody's doing, we've got a couple of front runners here that I can see on the poll coming through. Okay, right, I'll call time on that one then. So the answer was E. So the answer to E is this is 2008. So it can be calculated as follows. So step one would be to calculate the proportion of students to non-students for the years, and then divide that to come up with the answer. You can round things up, and a lot of the time, a lot of these questions are there to be able to work them out quite quickly. A lot of the questions on psychometric tests aren't really ones where they need you or expect you to use a calculator. So if you get anything and you think, oh, I can probably roughly work this out, that is probably how they're thinking you would do it anyway. You don't have to be precise. But you can sort of round up and round down, and sometimes that helps you with working things out quicker too. So yeah, the answer to that was E. Right, next one. So how many calories originated in fat will be consumed when eating 1.5 cups of product X? So we'll get the poll up for question 2, and then I'll start the timing. So has everybody got the poll for question 2? Oh, here we go. Here we go. Right, here's the poll for question 2. I'll give you a minute now to submit your answer. Brilliant. We have got quite a big front runner, particularly for this one. Okay, looks like the votes have calmed down a bit. So well done to the 57% of people who have said D. That's correct. So 90. So the thing with the psychometric tests is reading the questions, and there can be answers, or there can be a lot of information on a page, and actually it's only a very minimal amount of information that you need in order to answer something. So this, you only need a tiny bit of information, a couple of figures, to work out quickly what the answer would be. So the table indicates nutritional values per 1 serving size of product X, which is equivalent to half a cup, and each cup of product X contains 30 calories from fat. Eating 3 cups is 30 times 3 equals 90. So, you know, there's lots of information on there, and that's to throw you a bit and make you think, actually, have I read this question clearly? Have I picked out exactly what I need to know? And I don't need to know all of this stuff. I'm going to go straight to the things I need to know and to answer the question. So well done to those of you who picked D. What we're going to do each time, because I was just looking at the chat then, is we're going to delay putting the poll up. We're going to give you a bit of time to read the question, because when the poll comes up, I believe it then goes over you being able to actually see the information on the screen. So we're going to delay the poll going up, and then we'll release it for you to put your answers, okay? So, question 3. What was the highest number of students in a country that continued studying? So, a bit of a typo on there, but have a look at the question. And see what you think you're going to go for. We'll hold off the poll for a minute. Right. Okay. We'll give you time to release the poll now then, I think. Now we have got a front runner, but we've got a few answers for some of the other ones as well. Okay. Give you a few more seconds to get your votes in. A, B, C, D, or E. Right. Has everybody put their votes in? Looks like it may have stopped. Okay. So if you put, which 48% of the voters did, if you put A, you are correct. So well done with that. So again, it's just sort of looking at what you need to, the information you need to look at, maybe rounding and calculating that way to get an answer quickly. So well done to those of you who put A. Next question. In which year was the average number of daily swimmers the highest? Right, have a good look at it and think what you think. This is a very visual question, and hopefully you should be able to just sort of have a good look, and no calculating really needed too much on this one. Okay, if you want to release the poll, and we'll see what everybody goes for. Oh, we got loads of votes straight away on this one, and a big front runner. Right. So I think we're at our max votes now, seems like, with the total numbers that we're getting. So if you put B, and the majority, 78% of you did put B, you are correct. And like I was saying, this is very much a visual one. You should be able to have a quick look at this and quick calculation and work out that it would be B 2004. Right, next. Rich families spend something of money on food as poor and middle class families combined. So is A, B, C, D, or E? I'll let you have a think about that for a minute. Right, shall we release the poll now? Loads of votes. Okay, votes coming through. Last few seconds I'll give you. All right, so wait for a couple more votes and then we will go through the answer. And I think it looks like probably votes have stopped. So if you've put, and the majority of you have put, A, you are correct. So the rich families spend 5,500 monthly on food, whereas poor families spend 1,000 and middle class families spend 1,500. So combined poor and middle class families spend 2,500 on food, which is less than half the amount spent by the rich families. Therefore, rich families spend more than twice, but less than 3 times as much money on food than poor and middle class families spend combined. Okay, so the next one. You're doing very well, everyone. Okay, next question. What is the total value of grade A and C wireless headphones produced in 2019? I'll give you some time to think of this one. It's a bit of calculating to do. Okay, I will get the poll launched. It's A to D on this one. So there are some that there are 3 neck and neck actually, so it's quite divided as to what everybody's going for a bit here. Okay, I'll give a bit more time because it looks like a few more people needing to vote. Okay, a few more seconds, guys. Remember, you're looking at 2019. So it's the only, you're not having to look at each one of them or anything. And just grade A and grade C. Right. Get your votes in. Anybody last minute votes? Okay, looks like it may have stopped. So if you have put, and 41% of you, so well done to you, have put A, then you are correct. So again, lots of information there, but actually it's only 2019 that you need, and the grade A and grade C. So you don't need to worry about the other, and you look at the units and you do the calculations by looking at all that information together. And it's all sort of rounded information, so there's, you know, it should be able to be mental maths ability to do this. But again, it's about reading the question, about not being put off by lots of information, but just looking at that key bit of information that you actually do require to answer the question. Right, next question. Which department has the greatest percentage increase in expenditure between 2010-11 and 2011-12? So it's A, B, C, D, or E. I'll give you a bit of time to look at it. Okay, and let's launch the poll now. Gosh, lots of votes already. And we've got our absolutely front runner here. Okay, so last votes in. Yeah, looks like that should be it. Okay, so looks like 80% of you have said A and 80% of you are correct. So well done, and that was quite quick with how you all voted as well. So, you know, I think a lot of you sort of understood what you needed to do here, but you just need to subtract the 2011-12 expenditure from the 2010-11 expenditure, then subtract this answer and divide it by the 2010-11 expenditure to reach the answer that the Department of Work and Pension had the greatest percentage increase in expenditure. You could have done it like that, and you could have also done it by roughly looking and rounding up and saying it's sort of fairly sort of obvious when you do a bit of rounding up with things. Right, next one. We are now moving from numerical practice to logical practice. So these are the patterns and understanding sort of the sequences, what comes next and things like that. So this is slightly different side of things. And again, if it's not something that you do a lot, something that's really, really good to practice and just be prepared for. So this is, we'll do some logical practice questions now. So what comes next in the sequence? What do you think? A, B, C, D, or E? I'll give you a bit of time to look through. Okay, if we launch the poll now. Submit your votes. Some people find this really quite easy, and some people find this side of things quite hard. If you're somebody who's into puzzles and things like that, you'll probably have already trained your brain into looking at these sorts of things. Right, last few seconds to get your votes in. Any more votes? Get them in now. Okay, so the answer is A, and 66% of you said A, so well done to those of you who put that. The pattern just repeats itself, basically. So you'll see the way it goes. The first 1, 2, 3, 4 are various patterns, and then it starts itself again. So the one at the right hand side at the top is the same as the one at the left hand side. So you would think that it's a repetitive pattern, so it should be like the one next to it along from the left. So it should be A. So well done to those of you who got that. Okay, next. What comes next in the sequence? Have a little look, and then we will get the poll launched in a minute. Okay, let's get ready to launch that poll. So for these, you're looking at color, shape, rotation, all those sorts of things. Pictures. Right, a few more seconds. Last few people to vote. Okay, so 47% of you put D, and you were correct. So for those of you who probably struggled a bit more, you needed to pick a shape. Where does it move to? So the plus shape moves anti-clockwise section by section. So the only two answers would be B and D. The next shape is the heart, and it moves anti-clockwise section by section. So the only one it could be is D. Each circle is divided into 6 portions. 3 pairs of identical shapes are located in opposite cells. The grey pieces rotate clockwise. All the inner parts rotate in a counterclockwise direction. It's not easy to recognise the presence of the 3 pairs, but however, one can reach the same conclusions using other clues. For instance, you might note that the same couple of shapes appear in the first and fourth items of the sequence as in the second and fifth items. So it's only logical that the next of the items in the series would include 2 hearts located in the right and left cells. So like I said to you, it's all about looking at these various things: shape, color, rotations, all these different sequences that you need to go through in order to potentially get your answer and tick off ones that may not fit in that straight away too. Right, next one. What comes next in the sequence? Okay, I'll give you a few more seconds before the poll goes. Right, let's launch the poll. Lovely quick votes on this one. Okay. Couple seconds. Right, so 79% of you said C and 79% of you are correct. Well done. So the dot is constantly found in each of the 3 sequences, but the square moves 1 square each time to the right or left. So in the 3rd sequence, we can see that the square moves to the right, leading to the conclusion that the missing figure is found in answer C. So well done to those of you who got that right. Next one, what comes in next in the sequence? Okay, let's launch that poll. Right, couple more seconds. I think that's everybody put their votes in. Right. Answers B, 83% of you said B, so well done. Again, this is the way to do these sorts of things is to discount. So you can see that just by looking at the black circles in each of these, it goes 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. So you would presume that it would then, the pattern of that is 2 black circles in the next box. So you can take out already C, D, and E and just concentrate on A and B. Then it's the white circles we'll look at 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Okay, A and B still have 3 white circles in there, so that doesn't help. And then you look at the little triangle, the black triangle in the corners. So it goes from left to right at the bottom, left, you would assume to right, which would be then answer B. So it's just an elimination type of thing as well to be able to do that straight away. Next one, what comes next? Right, launch the poll. Last few votes to come in. Okay, and I think that's everybody all votes in. Yeah, looks like all votes are in now. So if you put D, Which majority of you have put? You're correct. Again, this is another one which is just a repetitive sequence. So the first 1, 2, 3 at the top are the pattern, and then it repeats itself. So the number 4 square on the top is the same as number 1. Number 5 square is the same as number 2. So you'd think this is a repetitive pattern. So the one on the bottom that looks most like number 3 along the top is D. Okay, let's get on to the next one. What comes next in the sequence? A, B, C, or D? Remember the things I said for you to look at. It's the shapes, the colours, the rotation side of things, patterns, all that side. Okay, ready to launch the poll? Right, give you a few more seconds. I can see we're coming to the last few people to vote. Put your votes in. Okay, so we'll stop the voting there. And if you put B, you are correct. Each row is a 90-degree rotation of the row above. So this is very much looking at the rotation side of things. All right, so quite so straightforward with that. Next one, what comes next in the sequence? Okay, I'll have to launch the poll because we're starting to run out of time now. Get the poll launched. Okay, get your votes in. Give you a few seconds because we've got 3 more to get through in our time. What are each of the squares doing? What's changing in each of the squares? Right. 5 seconds. Okay. So this is a bit different. Majority of you actually said C, but the 23% of you who said A are correct. So with this one, this is about how many times the circles connect or overlap. So in the first square, it's once, second, it's twice, third, it's 3 times, fourth, it's 4 times, and then you look for it the circles connecting 5 times, which would be A. It's nothing to do with the black dot or anything at all. So it's looking at what the shapes are actually doing as well. Right. Next one. What comes next in the sequence? Okay, let's launch the poll. Right, get your votes in. I'll give you about 10 seconds because we've got 2 more questions and not a lot of time. Okay, right, time is up. And we've got 2, it seems quite similar sort of thoughts between everybody. So C and D seem to be the popular ones. But if you put D, you would be correct. Now, the question's asking you to really identify the relationship between the 3 shapes. So the shapes on the left of the scale represent the same value as those on the right. So from the first image, we can work out that the 2 orange circles equal 1 blue square. And similarly, 2 blue squares equal 1 white circle. And therefore, 1 white circle equals 2 blue squares and 4 orange circles. So just a bit more of a different way of looking at things. Okay, so next one. What comes next? Okay, I'm going to launch the poll now because we're coming to time. Do your quick votes for this one. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. So if you've put E, then you are correct, which is, it was between E and D and B actually between all of you. So the inner shape has the same amount of lines as the outer shape. So it's looking at the amount of lines and stuff like that, as well as colors, shapes, rotations, all those sorts of things. So very quickly, this one, and then we'll have to get to an end with it. And let's launch the poll. Okay, I'm going to stop that now. And actually, majority of you, 37% of you or 39% of you now who have voted said A, and that is the correct answer. So it's back to back. with the shapes to create the next shape. So sorry we had to sort of go through that really quickly at the end. Time was really running out, but hopefully you have had some insight into getting yourself prepared. This is more the numerical and logical. These are the ones that people tend to don't do in everyday life, need to maybe do a bit of brain training around just to be. And I said, it's not cheating, it's not getting ready for a test or anything. It is actually just getting your brain in gear to be the best you can be in these, with those types of questions. So hopefully it's helped you understand what may come up, what you may need to practice. If you were a dab hand at it, well done. If you needed to practice, that's fine. You know, this is just to sort of help you with your start of your journey and give you a bit of a heads up and an insight into what you need to be prepared for. So please do, we've got a CIMA Early Careers UK Instagram and TikTok pages. We put everything on there that is for early careers people like yourselves. It's all about employability. It's all about helping you, linking you with employers, putting jobs on there, all that sort of stuff. So please connect with us, because it's really useful. We're trying to make it useful for you. It's not all about CIMA qualification all the time. It is actually linking you with employers that we work with, as well as the employability side that we hear would help you. So thank you very much for joining us today. I'm just going to see really quickly if there's anything. Okay, I've got one question here about describing the differences between CIMA and the ACA, which is also known as ICAW. Millie, just to sort of answer your question really, really quickly, the main difference, like I pointed out at the beginning, financial accounting, management accounting, two different types of accounting. Financial accounting, tax, audit side of things, that's ACA. Management accounting, corporate strategy, strategic business focus, that's CIMA, management accounting. So hopefully, very black and white, very, very quick answer for you. So, but hopefully that's given you a bit of an answer. I think we are probably at end of time.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much, Claire, for a very engaging. I also really enjoyed trying to have a go at those psychometric questions. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
And thank you to all of you students for joining and engaging with us. If you have any questions at all, please do email us. And please do check out CIMA on the Target Jobs website for further information. Have a great day, everybody, and hopefully see you at our next webinar. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks. Good luck, everyone. Bye.